The story begins as two brothers in a strange world discuss how dangerous it is outside. The older brother expects that they might die, but explains that it isn't actually death. They will never really die, they will simply go to sleep and wake up to raise the flag in a place he calls the wasteland. The younger brother wonders if the older one will eat him on that day. He reveals that he will and explains that they will return to this world as kings. They have run out of time, and the older brother reminds the younger that humanity is not to be trusted. The older brother hears the younger calling out to him and goes outside to find that a massacre has occurred. Further investigation leads him to find that his brother had been defeated as well. Our protagonist, named Mingfei, wakes up and plays a computer game with a friend. After it ends, he receives an invite to play with someone named No, and an intense match begins. Being fake thinks he has the advantage, but his opponent calls out his exact next move. It's clear he won't be able to beat her, and Mingfei is disappointed to see that there is no information on the girl. Elsewhere, Nano acknowledges Mingfei's exceptional skills, but explains that he is nothing special. Others in the car wonder why the principal at their school intends to give me a scholarship, but another reveals that someone like him hasn't appeared in many years. Nono thinks Mingfei is a bit strange and wonders how he could be an S rank. She uses something called Normal Linked to do some research on Mingfei. Nono finds that he is pretty normal aside from the fact that he has no friends and is a misfit in his environment. He is an introvert and is very comfortable living in his own little world, but does have a crush on a girl. He lives with his aunt and uncle and is very close to them. He sometimes poses as a girl online to play pranks by pretending to date his cousin Ming Ji. Ming Fei's out and explains that his parents have stopped sending money, but he knows that they have just been spending it. They have a new BMW and Mackenzie has brand new clothes. Being Fei, however, is stuck wearing hand-me-downs, but realizes that he can't help it if no one actually cares about him. No Noise then shocked to hear that he only wishes to have a new stand one day since he only needs to make enough money to stay online and wouldn't mind being able to sit outside in the sun all day. The blue-haired Xi Yang can't believe their school's recruiting students like him, but the others decide to wait for his interview before judging him. Elsewhere, Being Fei assumes he has been rejected from a school abroad once again, but it's surprised to see that he has received a package with a cell phone inside. A letter explains that he doesn't meet the criteria to be admitted into the University of Chicago. However, Cassell College would like him to be the sole recipient of their principal's scholarship and have been FABY mentored by Professor Guderian. After a quick check to make sure he isn't dreaming, he returns home to find that his own thinks it must be a scam. Means he points out how prestigious the school is and explains that only geniuses like Zhang are accepted. He questions of Being Fei should even bother trying. Just then Zhang arrives to tell Fei that his presence is desperately needed at the organization. Meeting they had only been daydreaming though and decides to just take a nap. Just then his own receives a phone call informing Fei that he has been invited to an interview the next morning. The next day, Mingfei arrives at his interview to find that a few of his classmates are there as well. Mingfei doubts himself once again as he believes he was only invited so the school could fulfill the requirement to invite a certain number of students. He spots his crush when and gets close to her after the first student is called in by the examiner. Mingfei expresses confidence in her chances, but it's surprising to see that the first student has returned so quickly. When one is called next and returns to give me some advice. However, they're quickly interrupted when Ming Pi is called next. He asks that one wait for him as he rushes into the interview room, but it's shocked for a moment. A girl named Mingfei introduces herself as an examiner and begins the interview. The first question is if he believes in aliens, and Being Fei shocked. Since he only prepared for more traditional questions, he assumes they're asking a strange question to see if he can answer in English, but he is wrong. Mingfei manages to give a profound answer about how stars travel long distances, and he alludes to the loneliness of the light. The interviewer notices and asks if Mingfei often feels lonely in his life. The answer is yes, and the examiner asks if he believes in superpowers. Being Fei contemplates what his sad life would be like without the hopes of superpowers that he sees in enemy, but the examiner is not interested in hearing about his boring life. The final question is if he thinks the foundation of human existence is idealism. Mingfei's inner self-wonder is how typical it is for this series of questions and concludes that he must be getting tricked. He decides that he should never have come and decides to quit. The other students reveal that his interview was the shortest of all, but he only cares about catching up with one when moments after Professor Guderian arrives and is startled to hear that being fake, they didn't even try to pass. He wonders why the examiners didn't get on their knees to beg Mingfei to stay, and incidentally Cosmin faces his parents. Meanwhile, Mingfei has cut up to Win-Win, and she invites him to accompany her to the movies. During a goodbye party for their graduating class, he thinks about how a top school doesn't matter as much as marrying one, when one day but his family informs him that he actually passed the interview, and they all head to the school soon after. Guderian ignores everyone to greet Mingfei, and is ecstatic to hear that he will receive a scholarship of $36,000. He explains that being Fei has extremely high potential and is a once-in-a-century talent, meaning Fei thinks he's only being polite, but good Danny reveals the final reason for believing in him. It is a fact that being Fei's parents were both honoraria alumni of the school. Guderian gives him a letter that his parents gave to the principal of the school and shocks everyone when he tells me that his parents loved him. Everyone thinks Guderian is an interesting man, but being fake excuses himself in a panic to read the letter. It simply states that they won't be able to return to school very soon, since the research has proven to be more difficult than anticipated. His mother explains that her son Mingfei has just turned 18 and is a bit of an underachiever, but she believes he has immense potential. She wants a principal to help him get into the school, and as that may be told that his parents love him very much. Just then, he is approached by Noah, who explained that he is currently crying in the girls' bathroom. She has been introduced as one of the school's outstanding sophomores to Mingfei and suddenly recognizes the name. She points out Mingfei's gloomy face, and he shocks everyone when he admits that he hasn't decided on whether or not to attend the school. Nono points out how it must be because of his crush, but Mingfei denies it immediately. He thinks about how it must have just been a lucky guess, but remembers how easily she was able to predict his move in the game. Later, Faith thinks about how crazy things have gotten. But it's surprised to see that Nono, we're still somehow able to correctly guess how Wen was the reason he hesitated. He thinks about telling Wen a story of a warrior named Godzilla. The warrior was constantly battling but also talking to a girl. She was completely unaware that he was fighting, and one day he had to tell her that his battery was drained and he was dying. She assumed he didn't want to talk anymore, but he tells her goodbye and dies. He wondered to himself if one would be sad if he dies one day, and we see that Nono had been watching him the entire time. She was able to find him using Norma and point out how boring he is for compressing feelings to a phone. Nono explains that she was asked by Professor Guderian to persuade Mingfei to join Cassell College and reveal that she can tell them how one feels about him. He of course wants to know, but she tells him that when one isn't interested at all, he should just join Cassell College. Nono can't believe how he has had a crush on a girl for so long, but hasn't made a single move yet. Could they're in close to give Nono permission to use any means possible to force me to pay into joining their college. She ignores him to tell me, Faye, that loving someone is difficult, but he should try to give her roses and play a touching song. She encourages him to reveal his feelings directly. Faye enthusiastically exclaims that he will tell her at the graduation party. Nono explains that if he is successful, then he will stay with her and not come to Chicago and miss the opportunity to attend the Cassell College meet phase, well aware, and they bid farewell to each other. Guderian is beside himself, since Nono isn't responding to his messages, and some students arrive to explain that they must return immediately to investigate or reservoirs, and something found there is extremely dangerous. Guderian will head back as well, since the college wants him to interview a candidate with a very strong bloodline. The students wonder what will happen with Mingfei, and Guderian explains that it is all up to Nono now to convince them into joining Cassell College. We then get a glimpse as Nono uses the normal links to look into Wen-Wen's profile. The next day, Mingfei spent some time with Wen-Wen the day before the graduation party, but they are interrupted by Nono. She pretends to be a sister, and Wen-Wen decides to let them talk alone. Nono explains that Darien is leaving the next morning, and he has to make a decision before then. Being favored towards that the graduation party is tomorrow night, and we'd like to take one more day. Nono reminds them that their school only gives opportunity once, but Mingfei is unwavering and declines. He then goes on to plan his grand speech that will reveal his feelings for Wen-Wen. Mingfei has prepared music and flowers to go along with his speech, and Making finds him to give him more formal quotes to where everyone is told to get in place on stage And being fair remembers the inspirational words Nono told them about revealing his feelings for when to the world. Once on stage, though Mingfei's told that is a place to be the letter in a message that reads I love you. He is completely confused, but everything becomes clear when Ming appears to begin his own speech. Man confesses to liking one for the past 3 years and gives her some roses. Something inside Mingfei tells him that he had been set up by men. Just as when confesses to liking men back being fake can hardly react to what's going on. But a snap back to reality when Nono One appears and grabs everyone's attention. She calls Mingfei Ricardo and tells him that they have more important things to do. Nono explains that if he doesn't go then she won't not be able to go either and has his clothes changed. The other students point out that his name is Mingfei. But Nono explains that he has different names in different places. Nono allows him to take one last look at his past, but being paid declines and explains that he is only moving forward afterward. Mingfei asks why Nono had returned, and we see that Normal Link had revealed that when one was exchanging texts with another boy being fake, can't believe the college is being so nice to him. But Nono reveals it was really just her, and she couldn't stand watching him get bullied like that. She explains that the vast majority of people's options in life are already set, but being fake is different. He has a unique option, and he makes the call to activate his admission into Cassell College. Over the phone, Normal Link gives them S-rank status. Nono explains that he has now been crowned and that many people bleed for that same crown, but many more die for it. Thanks for watching part 1. Future parts will be in a pinned comment below.